No, they're all on there. I think it's just... What is that? Don't put it well, it's not many, I don't think. There's one person rang in or something about wanted something added to it. I believe, but I don't know. Should be in and out in 5 minutes, isn't it?
I'll speak please.
No, it's only just that's too easy.
Yeah.
That's how it was here, we find it.
That's the report.
It's too old.
This is just the start of the week. It's going to go up to his 30s. It's
Lovely, can't
Wednesday,
wait.
34.
And I've just had last week off. I had the wrong week. Oh, it was nice though. It was nice, yeah, but 30 would have been nice this week.
Don't be greedy.
Where'd you go? I was at home.
Oh, so you have to do this?
No, but I didn't get a chance to sit in the garden. So Tuesday, like tomorrow, it's going to be really hot. So
Okay, good morning everyone. Shall we make a start if that's
We can't
okay?
sit in the garden.
Okay. And it's early on a Monday morning, it's getting very hot out there, so hopefully it won't be too long a meeting. I'd like to welcome you to the Licensing Committee this morning. Thank you for joining us. Just before we start the meeting, I'd like to read out the emergency evacuation announcement. Should we be required to evacuate the building, would you please leave the room by the door to the fire escape staircase? Please hold both handrails in case the stairs are wet or slippery. If anyone is unable to use the stairs, would they please allow others to exit the room before they go to the fire escape door, where they can then be given assistance. Our assembly points will be in the public car park at the side of the Civic Suite. Please do not delay your evacuation to collect any belongings. Please do not return to the building until given permission to do so by the council staff. Thank you. Apologies for absence from Councillor Dave Merrick and also from Councillor Elliot Mason, who's been substituted by Councillor John Mason, and apologies from Councillor Mrs Diane Hoy, who's been substituted by Councillor Mrs Mason. Are there any other apologies that we need? No? Okay. And are there any non-members attending?
There are none.
There are none, thank you. Can we just go through the minutes of the last meeting, please, from the 6th of June? And confirm that we're happy with them?
Do we have a copy?
They were previously circulated to members of the committee.
Are they agreed, members?
Agreed.
Agreed, those at the vote, thank you. And also the minutes of the licensing subcommittee that was held on the 18th of July, where there were 2 licensing reviews that took place. Can we have those agreed as well, please?
Yeah.
Thank you. Can I receive any declarations of interest, please?
Mm-hmm.
No? Okay, thank you. Okay, come to our substantive item 5, review of the Gambling Act Statement of Licensing Policy. Jane, could I ask you to take us through the report, please?
Yeah.
Thank you.
Consultation went out for 3 months to all our responsible authorities and anybody else that we thought would be interested in the gambling policy and have any comments. We got one back from a licensing solicitor with regard to the fixed odds betting terminal machines that are in betting shops. Just to give you a little bit of background on this, I did send over the House of Commons briefing paper. I don't know if you've had a chance to have a little look at that. That is the up-to-date information on this. This is basically a campaign for the campaign for fairer gambling. And basically these machines it's £100 for it's £100 stake. They want to reduce it down to £2. They feel that people are getting into debt because they are paying £100 to go on these machines at a time. People that can't afford it are getting into debt and obviously struggling. The Gambling Commission and the government have looked at this campaign. Let me just go back. The campaign for fairer gambling, what they want to do is reduce the number of machines. Currently there's 4 per shop, or they can have up to 4 per shop. They haven't all got those. They want to reduce it down to 1. They want to reduce the current maximum stake from £100 down to £2. They want to remove the table content from the fixed odds betting terminals because the pace of these games is faster than a real casino, and reduce the spin frequency by increasing the current delay of 20 seconds between each wagering of 60 seconds. So that was the campaign that they've brought up. The letter refers to this about bringing down the stakes. Now, the government have done quite a lot of work on this, and they've done a lot of consultation on this with the betting companies, with people that use the betting machines, and they have come, what they're looking at now is they've put a measure in at the moment where if a person comes into a betting shop and they want to bet over £50, which would be one of these machines, they have to give their identification. Okay, so they have to have photo ID and so forth to say who they are. This reduces it because they don't always want to be known to be on the machines, and they've found that this has reduced this a lot now from the studies that they've done. Now, the government have looked at it. What happened right at the very beginning was Newham wrote a letter to say about these terminals, because they are in a deprived area, people were getting in debt with gambling. They have done a lot of consultation, there's been a lot of study on it, and where we are currently, I'll just read out the response. The government currently does not support calls to set out in the submission for a reduction in the stake size on B2 gaming machines. We are not convinced that the local authorities have yet made the most of the powers that are already available to them under either planning or gambling law. In terms of gambling, it is perhaps an uncomfortable reality that every one of the betting shops that collectively have given rise to the concern at the heart of the submission relies on a premises licence granted by the local authority itself. While local authorities are bound by law to aim to permit gambling insofar as reasonable consistence with the licensing objectives, the licensing process gives authorities considerable scope to attach additional conditions to licences, where that is necessary to achieve the licensing objectives, to review licensings once they've been granted, and power to impose licensing conditions after review. So basically what they're saying is they don't agree with bringing it down to £2. They think that it will increase the betting because the stake now is £2 instead of £100. They are looking at further measures. We think further legislation will be coming in on these machines. Studies are being done with the Gambling Commission, there's work being done with the government, and there's also a lot of gambling charities and things that are all working together. So I think to put the suggestions that have been proposed to us by Mr Miller is a little early. I think we will see some legislation come in regarding these machines. Some of the things we can't put in, I mean, it is asked for the wager more than £2 per spin. We can't do that. That's legislation. It's through the Gambling Commission. We don't set how much these machines' stakes are. That's all done by the Gambling Commission. So if we put this in our policy, our premises are straight away in breach of our conditions because we've put that in our policies. So I think my advice to the committee would be just to hold back. Let's wait and see what comes in legislation. Let's see what comes in towards the end of the year. We can always update this policy to what comes in. It also talks about our local area profile. We have got one on the website. Although it is part of the policy, it's not part of the document, so that will be reviewed yearly or when things change. So if we get a premises that close, if we get a new school come up, that can be added at any time. We don't have to bring it back to committee. So that is an ongoing update, which is what they've asked us to do. So I think my advice would be wait and see.
Chair, please. Councillor John Mason.
Thank you, Chair. Yes, I must admit I read this with a certain amount of trepidation, wondering where we would be if we didn't do as the solicitor suggested. So it's been very useful to hear from the officer that there's no obligation for us to do anything. But I did hear in the response, was it to Newham,
Yes.
that there were things we could do, provisions, restrictions, limitations, that we could put on individual applications or renewals. Can you
Applications.
explain those to us? What could we do?
Yeah. Applications, when they first come on, we can put conditions on like any other licence. Also, if we find we've got a problem betting shop, we can bring that to review and we can bring in front of you guys and you can put conditions on that as well. So that is basically what they're saying, is that we have got powers, if necessarily, that we find a betting shop is a particular problem, we can bring it to review and bring it before you, and you can put conditions on that to bring the betting shop into line. But to be fair, we have got 7 betting shops in our district, and they are all Betfred, Coral, Ladbroke and William Hill. We haven't got any, individual ones. They're all from big companies. They're very much, they all have their own staff training, so that staff will go and interact. If they see somebody betting a lot, they will go and interact and say to them, you've been on there a long time, would you like to come out and have a cup of tea? Would you like a break? So that they come away to think about how much they're spending. They also, with the cash machines, by law, they're not allowed to be anywhere near the machine, so they have to come away from the machine to go and get more money, and staff are trained to recognise these signs. I did a whole day training at a casino in Stratford, the big casino in Stratford, and they are very much aware of people getting out of their debts. They also, if they see somebody very regular, they will intervene. There's also a campaign as well that people that gamble can actually self-exclude themselves, so they can go to that betting shop and say, I'm trying to stop, please don't let me in, and that can go around all the local ones as well. So they are sort of barred from all the local ones. So there is a lot of campaigns going on to help people that have got gambling problems.
Can I have a follow-up?
Please.
The follow-up is to say, well, thank you for telling me exactly how many betting shops we have in the district. Are any of them in what we would call deprived areas? From time to time, there is a survey of the district, and we know where our most deprived areas are and why. Are any of the betting shops in those areas?
No. We've got them in Rayleigh, we've got them in Rochford, and we've got them in Hockley. They're not in Rochford town as such. So no, I wouldn't say they're in any of the deprived areas. And we certainly have not had any problems. I've not had any reports in the last 3 years to say that we've had any problems, or anybody with a particular betting problem, because if they go to get help, obviously the organisation they get help from will contact us, and I've not had any contact at all within the last 3 years.
Thank you, Chair.
Does that answer your question?
Thank you very much.
Councillor Christine Mason, did you have a question as well?
Yes, I do. I've listened to the concerns and I've quickly read this appendix, but I still must say that there are some points here. I don't know how many members here listened to the news this morning. On the news there was an article where they have established that people on these fixed odds betting terminals, when they're in front of them, that it creates a brain activity that they can neither control or stop. Now, bearing that in mind, and I think the other aspect that was covered, I mean, it was only a snippet, obviously, I think there's a full report later tonight, was that there is a lack of support for people with those difficulties. And whilst I accept the fact that it is sometimes best to wait for government to act, if there's anything that we can do as a council to try to assist people with that difficulty, I accept the officer's comments that we probably haven't identified any at present. It doesn't mean they're not there. And there's 2 aspects that I'd like you to consider from this letter. One is the policy statement at number 1. I can't see why we wouldn't be endorsing that. But also, at number 6, Mr Miller has said that we should ask them to report vandalisms to the FOBTs. so that we can obtain a true measure. Now, if what you're saying is correct, the report will be 0. There will be no reports. However, if that is in our policy, then we can be confident that it is 0 and not rely on the operators to inform us voluntarily. So certainly on item 6, I would like to hear what your views are about incorporating that.
They can be incorporated. As I say, these are big companies. We haven't got the smaller companies like a lot of areas have. So they would have measures in place. You know, they are very responsible companies. I know they're betting companies, but they are very responsible companies. But yeah, that certainly can go in if that's, you know, what you decide. That's fine.
It certainly
Chairman,
seems a
yeah, that's fine.
good
If I
indication.
can come back, Mr. Chairman, I
Please.
think that we have whilst we may have a situation that is now under control and satisfactory, what our policy should do is cover all eventualities that we can foresee. And I would like this committee to consider incorporating item 6 in the policy. Thank you.
Thank you. Does anyone else have a view on that? Please.
Have we had any complaints from people?
No.
My initial thoughts on reducing the stake to £2 is that would bring a lot more people into using it. So I'm concerned regarding that. And what's the difference between that and online betting? There isn't.
Well, this
I guess the difficulty is that
Yeah.
we don't regulate online betting, whereas we'll be responsible for the licensees within Watford
So
District.
removing that, would that make much difference to the online? I mean, if you can't get it in the betting shops, you can go online and
Exactly.
get it there.
Waste of time, as far as I'm concerned.
Can I just
Please.
the online betting, the Gambling Commission are doing a huge amount of work on online betting because a lot of this comes from abroad, it doesn't come from this country. As I say, they are looking at this as a measure. They're looking at, you know, the stake, they're looking at the fixed terminals. They are doing a lot of work on this, they're doing a lot of consultation on this, as well as the online. So there is a lot of work going on. As I say, the points 1 and 6 that you've mentioned.
Well, number 6,
Yeah, that's fine. It's just I would be a little bit, hold back a little bit on this £2 because that's going to come from government.
And we can't do it.
And we
anyway.
can't do that. No, we can't do that. So.
Okay, thank you. Does anyone else have any comments about the reports? If we were to include paragraphs 1 and 6, Joan, would that affect licensing policy in any way?
No.
Would we be able to do that?
No, that'd be fine.
Okay. Are the members in agreement that we do that? Okay, thank you. Okay, in that case, can I recommend that we agree the updated licensing policy including items 1 and 6? Is that an agreement, members? But as we said before, there will be no provision made in respect to the issue of casino licensing within the Watford District, which was agreed at the previous meeting. Okay, thank you. Thank you very much. I believe that is the agenda completed. Thank you very much for attending.
I was just going to come to bring John before we were